Sweep. Okay, he's yeah.
Why?
Bro.
He's gonna do it again, isn't he? Feeling angry, annoyed, frustrated, even depressed? Well, I've got news for you. It is totally on us. Well, I say that, not really. Drive impact is a very annoying mechanic in this game. However, I do feel if it's catching you out a lot, it is to do with how, I will say we rather than saying you, how we are approaching the game and our inability to react to drive impact. Because we're deer in headlights, we just see DI and our hands and brain do not know what to do quick enough to deal with it. For this video, I'll talk about drive impact, I'll explain some of the characteristics of drive impact and some of the sensible ways to beat it in matches. The drive impact is a 27 frame move and it costs drive gauge to do it, it costs 1 bar of drive to do it. It's universal to the entire cast and it's used to, how would I even explain this? It has armoured properties and it can crush certain moves and it can beat certain strings. It even can beat certain specials, it really is dependent. Even though drive impact is quite a simple mechanic, some would argue brain dead, it is actually quite complex in terms of how you counter it, and I'll look at those measures now. But let's look at what the attack actually does if it connects. Oh, nice. The mid screen, if you block, causes a knockback. It doesn't actually do any damage, but it does take away half the stock of your drive. On hit, you lose 1 full bar of drive, and you do take damage, but there's no combo mid-screen that I'm aware of anyway. If you get punish countered, see there, mid-screen full combo, you lose 1.5 bars of drive gauge, and the opponent gets a full combo or a full punish. There are certain moves in this game that outright lose to drive impact in neutral. Crouch and medium kicks are susceptible to them. They don't have a big cancel window, and that's the problem. So you can't, if you do it too late, you cannot drive impact back. That was probably the cusp of the cancel window. But if I do it again, see, I delayed it there, and I didn't get my DI. I got DI'd for my efforts. So certain moves, I'll show you another one. That stand medium kick, it's not cancelable, it's very slow, has a lot of recovery. That will outright lose to people doing DI. Fireballs as well, if they don't recover in time. I'm holding down back there, it's gonna lose. You've got to be careful when you throw things out. Your opponent is very DI heavy. If they rely on DI a lot and they're just spamming it in neutral, they can beat you in rounds very quickly. So you've got to be careful. In the corner, it's slightly different. On hit, you get wall splat, full combo. If you block it, wall splat, full combo. And it's the same again if they crush you in the corner, they get a full combo. So that's the differences in the corner. It's more deadly in the corner. One thing I will say about drive impact and dealing with it is the easiest method to deal with it is to just DI back. It's probably the most simple method, I feel. As you see it, DI back. If you're in a string, so if you're using an attack string and you see it, yeah, okay. So if I do jab, jab, I do 3 jabs. If they do DI in your strings, you can DI back on reaction. The thing here is, and the key is to use a string that doesn't leave you in a recoverable state. So I'll show you a string now. It's a random string. I'm gonna go from heavy punch into crouch heavy punch with drive rush. And I'm gonna hold down back. I'm just gonna hold down back to block the drive impact. I'm literally holding down back and I can't block. And the reason for that is the moves I'm using, the heavies, they're very slow and they have a lot of recovery. So this is why slower buttons Whilst you get a bigger reward on hit, are risky if someone again is using drive impact in your strings. So light strings, quick strings, better because you can just block, worst case. You can cancel the drive impact. There's also another technique you can use if you don't want to use drive impact, or I don't know, maybe you've got mental in your head already a combo ender. You can just cancel into specials, and DI only has 2 hits of armor. So if you spam certain buttons, you can break the armor if you get 3 hits. I wouldn't recommend, this is my personal opinion, doing light strings to beat it. I think that's, I don't know, I think it's very risky, especially if you don't spot the DI early, if they do the DI before you start your strings. So I think going into DI itself or cancelling into a special is a better option. Parry is another option. So parry is good against drive impact because it stops the knockback. It can stop you being, if you get regular hit, you do get knocked to the ground and you do take actual damage. Parry will stop all that, and it'll treat drive impact as if you block it normally in a fashion, if that makes sense. If I block drive impact, you can see it's not detrimental, but I lose drive bar and I get knocked closer to the wall, the corner. But if I parry this, just hold parry, don't even go for perfect parry, you can see I maintain my position and I don't lose. I actually regain that lost drive gauge. I regain it. So there's some advantages of perhaps using parry here. The important thing about parry is you're actually +3. If you parry drive impact, you have plus frames, you're +3. So it is your turn to press after you parry drive impact. Remember that, it's really important. If you perfect parry drive impact, you do get a punish. So there is a reward here if your timing is perfect. Remember, that will be scaled by perfect parry scaling. But one thing to consider when doing perfect parry is you can use perfect parry to focus more on doing drive gauge damage rather than actual damage. You can see there that the opponent took damage. So they used drive gauge initially. They took damage on the punish counter, which was the stand heavy punch after the parry. But then I cancelled stand heavy punch into my own drive impact. Those sequence of events, those 3 things, so their drive impact, the punish counter hit, and me doing drive impact, actually took away multiple bars of their drive gauge. So while you're not doing massive damage, you are punishing them heavily in terms of drive gauge. So that's a really good thing. That's not even exclusive to drive impact. That's a universal way of looking at perfect parry usage in this game. Super is also a legitimate strategy against DI. Just be warned, supers that have limited or no invincible frames have high potential to lose, because even though you do your super in time, in terms of you see the drive impact, you do your super, if your super doesn't connect before the DI will actually hit you first and you will just lose out of that interaction. So you want to use supers with lots of invincible frames. It's worth noting as well though, but supers only have to hit once before the DI attack to beat DI. I'm going to use level 2 now, Ken's level 2. It doesn't have much invincibility at all, and you'll see it will lose. Even though I'm in time, the DI is hitting me beforehand. It's hitting me during my startup frames of level 2. So you do want to use a super with lots of invincible frames, like Ken's level 1. You can see there it was quite late, but it connected because of the invincibility during startup. Invincibility during startup buys me more time before my strike hits. Their attack will whiff because I'm invincible, and then that allows my hit from super to then crush the drive impact. So that's the video, guys. I didn't think DI was that complicated, so I didn't think it needed a video, but you know, losing to it in matches and seeing some strange interactions, I had to explore them to fully understand what was happening, and that led to me creating this video. I feel like it's very necessary to know the ins and outs of how to beat and deal with drive impact. I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but it's really important, I feel, to map a dedicated DI button. I didn't have a dedicated DI button at the beginning, but here you can see I've got heavy punch and heavy kick, which is the DI input mapped to a single button. The reason I say this is because I do think the last line of defense when it comes to reacting to DI is just a DI back. That's the most simple way. That or parry. It's the most simple way to deal with DI back. So you need like a panic DI button to retaliate or respond to these DIs, you know, during your strings, on reaction and neutral where you're not doing anything. I think it's really good. But on that note, actually, if you're not doing anything, if someone's doing DI mid-screen, don't be afraid just to block it. You know, in worst case scenario, just block it and get knocked back. They get no actual damage. They get somewhat better screen position, you know, because they knock you towards the wall. But as long as you don't wall bounce, just block it. You know, if you're not comfortable, just block it. But yeah, highly recommend a dedicated DI button. That's the video, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.